How's it going, guys? Heroic Concepts here today. And before we get started, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at AndyConcept87. That is the best way to reach me. Today I want to talk about just something I've come to understand over the years through my own experiences and also as I came to faith in Jesus. There's basically this overlap in regards to what it means to be a masculine man, okay? And I think it's important and it's imperative that we all, that I make this video and that we all have a conversation about it. And basically, whether or not you choose to adhere to these, you're going to run into some problems in your personal relationships and you're going to struggle at some point. Trust me. And I mean in every way possible, you're going to suffer. In your relationships, as far as attraction goes, as far as, your family suffering as a byproduct of this, your children suffering. It's important. Your role is not just about you and your ego. It's about the well-being of all your loved ones, which is what, as a man, we are called to do, is to love self-sacrificially, right? We're supposed to self-sacrifice like Jesus did for us. We're called to love our spouse and our kids like Christ loved the church. You know what I'm saying? Well, specifically in regards to the spouse, but you know what I'm saying. We're supposed to love self-sacrificially anyway. So there's pretty much three things. And the first two are fairly obvious. Basically, it's protection and it's provision. So you're called to be a protector and a provider. Obviously, if you're a man and you decide you want the responsibility of having a spouse one day or children, you need to be able to physically protect them. Now, with that said, I want to be clear. I think, this is my personal opinion, and I don't know, for me, it's just kind of one of those things. I think it's empowering for men. And one, it's not just empowering, but it's also necessary for men to understand discipline. And I believe, and it's biblical too. It's taking care of your body, but also, your temple, so to speak, and having some form of physical fitness, some sort of ability to do something with your hands, to strengthen yourself. I think those are just your traditional traits that are associated with masculinity. It's bravery and it's physical strength. And I think every man should have some measure of physical strength. Outside of that, though, let's be clear, you also need to be, you need to know how to use a firearm properly, okay? Because let me put it to you this way. I don't care if you're some big, brute, some dude jacked up with muscles coming out of his freaking neck. You know what I'm saying? Like muscles where muscles aren't supposed to be. If like 5 dudes break in your house and they're armed, okay, look, you're not going to win. First of all, let's say they're unarmed. You're still probably not going to win. You're going to get overpowered. The next best option is to have a firearm to at least scare them off, and you got to know how to use it. So every man needs to be willing to step into that role and protect his family. Okay? Otherwise, you just, quite frankly, and this might be upsetting to some of you, just don't deserve. Okay, you're not, or rather, you know what? Let me not use that language. It's just not practical, and you're not ready to have that responsibility, because it's not just about your pleasure; it's about your duty as a man. Okay, and also just I think provision. Being a provider and a protector, they kind of go hand in hand. Obviously, as a provider, I want to make this emphasis first. Basically, in today's world, there's a lot of gray area. Women make just as much money as men. They're in the workforce too, and they're great at making money. With that said, while you may not have to be the breadwinner, your goal, I think, should be to be in a position where no matter what you make, it should be enough for you, your spouse, and your children. And beyond that, not just feeding them, not just surviving, but like I said, this is where provision and protection go hand in hand. I think you have to be in a position where you can afford to, prepare. You could be in a place where you're ready to move your kids into a better neighborhood, assuming things get worse, or better schooling, in case, because obviously I wouldn't advise any of you guys, if you're planning on having children, to put your kids through a public school in today's world. It's with the things that are out there in the world, I wouldn't recommend it. Especially, well, I can only really speak for Florida, because even when I was in high school, I didn't learn anything. So the education sucks, and things are just getting crazy out there. And I just, I think if you love your children, you don't want to have them around that sort of influence. But anyway, that leads on to my next point. The third leg, and the most important, which I think is the main problem with today's world, especially this is where men are suffering most, is they are not influencers. Okay? And as a man, you're called to influence. You are an influencer. And you can see this, whether you're a man of God or you're quote unquote traditional alpha male. Someone who has an influence is typically someone who's viewed as a role model. Okay, you are somebody that other people want to be or emulate. So you notice this in situations where there's guys out there who who may be morally bankrupt, but they have a following, or they get girls, and they're deemed as cool, but they're a negative influence. But the point is, they have an influence. You see what I'm trying to say? So they're attractive as a byproduct. So attraction and influence go hand in hand. Okay, I'm talking about genuine, raw attraction. I'm not talking about, oh, well, I got money, so I got girls. No, that's not attraction. That's all about, as long as you can buy me things, I'll stick around. Okay, I'm not talking about that. That's different. You're better off getting escorts. And I don't even say that as a Christian, but what I'm trying to say, if that's the route you're going to take, I mean, it's essentially the same thing. You're pretty much paying for someone to pretend to be interested in you. So that's not where I'm going with that. An influencer is somebody, and this is the way I view it. Okay, it's somebody who, let me see, I got some notes over here too. So it's somebody who is either genuinely internally satisfied, or someone who puts on a good show, a good performance, who wears a mask, who appears to be self-satisfied, which is because they're doing well in life. So you hear a lot of people in the self-help or dating coach sort of sphere talking about things like an abundance mindset. Well, yeah, they have an abundance mindset, and this is, so guys like The Rock, and I don't know in person, but he's just a common example, but guys who are doing really well right now, who got everything going for them, they're alpha, they're deemed alpha because they have an audience. So as long as they have an audience that's validating them, that's saying, yeah, that's the guy I want to be like him, he's the man, of course their physiology is going to reflect that. Okay? You know what I mean? There's some guys who can, psychotically lie to themselves and fake it till they make it, to a point. Like I remember Patrice O'Neal talked about this one time. You just have to psychotically believe in a lie in yourself. You have to fake it till you make it and believe in it so much that you actually behave differently. Now, you might be able to fool a lot of people with that, but what I'm saying, at some point, when things aren't going so well for you, you're going to lose that influence. Because, again, being alpha, in a worldly sense, all depends on whether or not you have an audience of people validating your alpha status. When you're internally satisfied, as far as, what I've learned, because, again, I remember I was on that side of the fence, too, before I was saved. My internal satisfaction doesn't come from anything that I'm doing or myself. I don't believe you can be truly satisfied, at least not for the long term, at least not for good, not you know what I mean? It's not sustainable forever. But I think with God, since God's the only consistent thing in this world, as long as your validation is coming from God, your self-worth, you surrendering to Him and acknowledging that He is your creator, and you were created with some sort of mission in mind, with some sort of purpose, and He gave you certain gifts and natural interests, and even certain weaknesses. So you have to collaborate with other people to make things happen, and even in your personal relationships, you got to remember, you were created for a reason. So as as a byproduct of that, you have value. You do. So. And not to mention the whole supernatural aspect of regeneration, where you're born again, you know it internally. It's not something you lie to yourself about. It's not something your brain, that you could trick your brain into doing. This is something that just happens immediately and you change. I feel like when you, again, this is why it's so important in the Christian faith, or even any other faith. I mean, I think it's a little bit different because I don't necessarily know what those experiences entail. Like if you are Muslim, I know I got some Muslim brothers watching me. I don't know outside of your culture and the rules that pretty much put you on, you're just kind of like the Christian faith, except I think there's just more of like, you're a man and this is what men do and this is what women are beneath you and men are up here and this is how it's supposed to run. Which, if you notice, a lot of radical feminists love Muslim guys. That's funny, right? That's pretty funny how that works out, right? But that's a whole other conversation. But what I'm trying to say is, when you have this born-again experience, your confidence doesn't come from yourself, it comes from God. And you lack nothing internally. You're internally satisfied. So again, kind of like the guy who, let's say, is somebody who has the resources, the looks, the status, who has all this external validation from humans, you're going to pretty much have the same physiology. If you really truly believe and your faith is strong, yeah, you're going to have the same physiology and you're going to move differently in the world. And as a byproduct of that, you're going to have more influence and you're going to be more attractive. But from there, which is why, again, there's a lot of overlap between what I used to believe, and I think any man believes this, but now that I'm a Christian, we're called to lead. Okay, so, there's a story in the Bible, or rather part of the gospel, where Peter is, he's feeling down about himself and feeling not worthy to follow Jesus. And Jesus comes to him and says, listen, I know you're a fisherman. You're this lowly fisherman. Not that he said that, but you're a fisherman right now, but I'm going to make you a fisherman of men. Meaning, you're going to lead other men. I'm calling you to be a leader. And then if you look at the Great Commission, where right before Jesus goes back into heaven after he raises from the dead, and his last, the Great Commission is basically go out in the world and make disciples. Okay? And this is a problem with today's church, which, it's views that, a lot of people just look at a church that you go to on Sunday and you hear a sermon and you go home and do whatever the hell you want as soon as you leave. No, being a Christian means it's a training center. The church is a training center. It trains boys how to be men and for girls to be women. Okay? So you can't be a Christian man and not be a leader. Again, read your Bibles. If you don't know, that's the problem. A lot of people don't read the Bibles, but they call themselves Christians. If you're going to put this label over your head, understand that you're called to lead other men, and that starts with your family. That starts with you having your house in order. That starts with you leading your wife and your children. And not just by doing your own will, meaning, oh, well, I'm the man and you're going to do what I say, but no, doing it in a godly way. So you lead with love, okay? So that means even if you have to instruct, correct, or rebuke your spouse or your children, okay, you have to do it in a gentle way. You have to do it with compassion. You have to be understanding. You have to, be patient and kind. But that doesn't mean you compromise the rules in your role as a man, okay? Because look, God doesn't want you to be a follower of men. He wants you to be a follower of God. You're a leader. God calls you to be a leader of men. And the way you live your life, you're basically this, walking, breathing billboard that is always pointing back to God's standard. That's why being a man, a lot of people just act like it's some sort of privilege or it's whatever. It's a burden. It's a burden. It's not easy. It's not easy being a man. It's tough. And y'all know that. See, because a lot of y'all, and I feel bad, a lot of you guys who grew up in this overly soft and moist, effeminate environment that you grew up in the States, you guys were pretty much set up to fail and to struggle as young adults. A lot of y'all have a hard time standing on any kind of principles. Y'all don't even know what truth. A lot of y'all don't even have a concept of absolute truth. It's all subjective. And basically that's your way of saying, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so you live your truth, I'll live mine, and I don't want, I'm just being respectful. No, listen, man. Don't try to use political correctness as an excuse not to stand on what you believe. Even if me and you disagree, Stand firm on it. But with that said, if you're really a man, be willing to follow the truth wherever it leads you. That means teachability. That means humility. Okay? Because even though, again, I'm called to follow God, but I also can learn a lot of things from non-believers. I can learn, we're all different with different gifts. Of course I can learn. You know what I'm saying? But again, another aspect of being an influencer as a man and again, this is biblical, is mastering your body, meaning mastering your mind, mastering your emotions, and obviously mastering this impulse to destroy yourself through unhealthy habits in general, whether it's how you eat, how you live, you being lazy, whatever. It's mastery over yourself. Okay? So if if you're not able to do that, if you're just a child still, and you're not ready, you might have the age of what a man is supposed. You could be in your late 20s and still be a little boy. You could be in your 40s and still be a little boy. Okay, you got to have mastery over yourself. So that means a lot of y'all out there listening. I'm not saying this to preach to nobody. I'm again, when I do these videos, it's like I'm talking to a younger version of myself. Even for me, I'm talking to a version of myself from a year ago. A lot of y'all dealing with this, struggle with pornography or sexual addiction, like myself. I couldn't do it without God's help. He cured me from that. And whether y'all believe that or not, that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, I had to make the manly decision to humble myself so I could receive help, because I needed help. But now, as I follow God, I've noticed internally, it's easier to turn away from a lot of things that I used to have a hard time saying no to. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm internally satisfied, but beyond that, doesn't mean I'm still not tempted. It just means it's easier for me to, some girl could text me, "Hey, what are you up to? Can I come over?" No, you can't come over. Or, even when I think, man, I haven't hit up this girl in a while. Nope, I'm not doing it. Because ultimately I know where it leads to, and it's basically nothing. It's a detour on the road to peace, joy, fulfillment. It's just me spinning my wheels. But beyond that, there's no value in that. I know it's vanity. And again, I need to practice self-control, which is one of the fruits of the Spirit. Again, that's what you do as a man. You just don't follow your whims. You know what I mean? And on top of that, you also have to have knowledge as a man. Okay? If you're going to influence others, you have to know what you're talking about. And you got to be able to articulate your thoughts. Now, that doesn't mean you got to be the most intelligent, articulate man on earth, but it just means, here's what I know to be true, and here's how I explain it, and here's how this is going to benefit or hurt you. And this is why I walk the walk. Not just talk a bunch of crap about what you ought to do, but you actually live it out, because nobody follows anybody who doesn't lead. And what does it mean to be a leader? It means to go first every day of your life as a man. So again, I know I spoke very little about protection and influence, but protection and provision, being a protector and provider, but an influencer is what we're lacking in today's world. We are lacking real men who are influencers, men that other men want to emulate and that other women want to be with, that women respect. Okay, again, and this goes back to all the old videos I used to do. If a woman doesn't respect you, she might love you if she's a godly woman, just like as a brother, but she will never be attracted to you. If you don't, she will never have that sort of attraction for you. If you cannot stand up to her, she cannot trust you. Okay? And a godly woman is called to submit, not be your slave, because let's be very clear. A godly woman, if you know what a Proverbs 31 woman is, if you haven't read it, read it. That woman is more of a man than most men are today. She's an entrepreneur. She works with her arms. You know what I'm saying? She does physical labor. She takes care of her entire household. She makes sure everybody gets fed. She keeps up with the house. This woman can do it all. Okay, so let's be very clear. Women of God are not slaves or lesser beings. Yes, we're all equal. And we can do and both men and women can do amazing things. So for a woman like that to want to be with you, you got to be willing to, you got to be up to snuff, bro. I'm just keeping it real. That's why you see a lot of dudes out here with this red pill content complaining about a bunch of little girls that are out there. And I feel sorry for them. I don't mean to insult them, and I take that back. But they just haven't, they weren't shown what a real woman is supposed to be. So they're out there falling for everything out there. Because again, they stand for nothing, they fall for anything. And they're going to fall right into the lap of some a-hole with confidence. And they're going to ride the carousel. And you know what carousel I'm talking about, fellas. They're going to ride the carousel, and then they're going to settle for one of you guys who might be a good provider, but you got no influence. As a matter of fact, she got more influence over you, which is why she tells you what to do. And you're the sucker now. So let's be very clear, man. This is why I tell you these things first and foremost, because I love you guys. I love you guys so much. And that's why I do this for free. And I let God lead me to do these videos, because again, I don't get nothing out of this really. What am I gonna get, like 10 cents from doing this video at this point? I do this because I hate to see you guys suffer, man. And all of you, especially you younger guys, man, been raised up. Oh, there is no absolute truth. And yes, respect women and treat them with love, but stand up to them too when you know they're wrong. Those worldly women, and don't date them. That's why I tell you guys, you know what I'm talking about, Jesus? You know why I'm talking about this? And you guys, I don't know if I believe that, and that's fine. It's your own personal journey. But I talk about this because Jesus teaches you exactly what you need to do to be more attractive. To be a man. He will break you down. He will put you, that's why a lot of people come to God when their life is in shambles. That's when they come to the end of themselves and like, okay, fine, I just need help. And Jesus goes, okay, so that's all I wanted you to do. Humble yourself and reach out for help. I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to show you how to move in a world full of evil and vultures waiting to just tear you apart. That's why I'm a Christian. You see what I'm saying? That's why I love the Lord. Not just because, religion. I don't care about religion. I obey the Lord because I love him and what he did for me. If he didn't do anything for me, which he already did on the cross, but beyond that, what he did for me, healing me the way he did, you better believe I'm going to talk about Jesus. I'm going to stand on those principles, and I'll never be with a woman who's not down with Jesus, because I don't care what she looks like. I don't care how cool she is. If she ain't right with the Lord, she's boring to me. And I'm not willing to be a fool and entertain a woman who's just all focused on herself and is inherently selfish and all about that "what have you done for me lately" attitude, which is perfectly natural because us guys do the same thing. That's why we run out on our wives in marriage and we cheat. Oh, she's not having sex with me? I'll go get an escort. Or I'll get another girl. I'll have a side chick. Whatever. Y'all don't like these games as much as I don't like these games, and that's why I checked out. And I'm telling you right now, man, if y'all want to be men, this is what it takes. You're called to work hard like Jesus did. Dude was a carpenter in 15 AD. Okay, before Home Depot, before Lowe's. Man probably had to build his own tools to work with, and then he had to go and cut down trees and to have his own resources so he can actually do his job. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what's missing. This is why I believe, the real, and again, the biblical Christianity, not the crap you see in the U.S., across the world where you see all these soft, effeminate guys in the church. That's not the man Christ wants you to be. Let's be very clear about that. Very clear. And that's why a lot of dudes on a Sunday, they'd rather watch football than show up to church. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them if your whole life all you've seen was this little effeminate picture of Jesus, with his little pretty shampooed hairdo. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame you for staying home. And these Jesus is my lover worship songs, I don't blame you because I don't like it either. But that's why I say, get in the book, bro. Read it for yourself. Anyway, I'm sorry, because I did tell you guys before, I don't want to preach and I don't want to do all that, but I'm just passionate, man. And I want you guys to stop suffering. I feel like God can help you in these areas, to help grow you up to be a man, to get the things you want, bro. Because like I said, man, you seek the kingdom and righteousness, and all things will be added to you, bro. You won't need a woman, but you know what? You'll get one, and that'll be a great addition to your life. That's already, where you already have internal satisfaction. You're actually able to show gratitude for what you already have, no matter what circumstances you are currently in. All right. But anyway, let me not go on another tangent because I completely went off topic here. You guys have a good day. Heroic Concept signing out. I love you all. God bless you all. Have a good one. Be safe. See y'all in the next one.